And welcome to Down the Alley. This is PMAC.
And Katie.
Going to be a little bit of a different format tonight as we have people coming from games. We've got sources in the weeds on sidelines, all that good stuff. So Katie and I are going to get this thing started, and we're going to dive into the kind of the girls side of things for the section finals, and then we'll have the boys hopefully join us here in about half an hour, and we'll dive into the boys side of things here in a little bit. But Katie, I'll just kind of open this up, kind of tee you up. You can dive as much or as little. I know a lot of pent up energy. I know you've had a day. How much do you want to share that day? With DTA Nation, as I know they're passionate and they love to hear from us. I actually met a DTA fan today at my youth scrimmage this evening.
Yeah, did he say he was a player?
Rosemount player.
Okay.
We were out in Rosemount, so he was reffing out in Rosemount, which is really cool. Love to see it. And went up, shook his hand, thanked him for, he was solo tonight. So I was like, hey, sorry if I was being hard on you. I know, you have a tough job and whatever, thanks for being a ref tonight, all that good stuff, dabbing him up, because he's a young ref. So, trying to pump these refs up. And I took my sunglasses off. He's like, are you from down the alley? And I was like, yeah. He's like, huge fan of the pod, just absolutely pumping my tires, making me feel so much better about myself than I already do today. So really appreciate that. But
I've
yeah,
only joked about being recognized. I've made a couple jokes sometimes saying like, "Oh, you guys, I don't know, I'm in the public eye now." Why is at LaxCon? I was like, why has nobody stopped and said hi to me about our
yeah.
podcast? And it gets some laughs. It gets a good laugh every time I've said the joke about like, how come nobody's recognizing me? I'm a public figure.
Yeah.
You now are a celebrity, and you got your first like recognition in the public eye. How does
Well,
it feel?
I will say second because I think it was last year when I was scouting a game. Some Lakeville North players came up, so I think that was last year, maybe 2 years ago.
I
But
remember that. I remember that now.
I think it was last year. That was fun. That was funny too. So, no, that's how Pat. That's just prompts. Props to DTA Nation, and how avid they clearly watching the YouTube too.
Yeah,
Otherwise, how
which
do you
I
know what
feel
I look like?
sorry for the people who watch the YouTube because we record these really late at night, and like PMAC alluded to, today has just not been my day. And so I was actually going to say that before you said that. Like, I'm surprised people watch any of the YouTubes because we're not the best looking group besides JP. Elk River Girls would disagree. But they're always like super late at night. We've been on the field for 5 hours, sweating or freezing our tails off. Yeah, we clipped an episode from like February, and I was like, gosh, yeah, when it was probably 20 degrees. I feel like we're always talking about the weather because of the lacrosse season. Do the fall sports have a swing like we do?
Oh yeah,
Like,
it
I
gets
know they
cold.
start in
Yeah.
like, obviously the 2 days in August are always like obviously very warm, but do they like there's snow in the football season sometimes,
At the
right?
end,
There's
yeah.
gotta
Oh yeah.
be.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So that's like, I was like, are we like, do we just have like really bad luck doing spring sports? But um, I don't know. I mean, I guess by this time everyone knows all of the scores. I'm pretty sure, yeah, all of the girls' games are done. So that's a oh, maybe not.
Well, we'll get to the girls' scores. I want to
No,
first.
they're all, yeah, all the girls are done today, right? Everybody's done today,
Yes, everyone's
right?
done today. Yes.
Yeah.
So
So
we'll.
this is getting recorded Thursday, June 8th. The season is officially like over. I mean, the postseason's over. We just have the last 8 teams standing, and it's
Yes.
kind of crazy to think about.
It
Like, it
seems like
goes
yesterday
so
we
fast.
started. Yeah,
And
so
we
fast.
say it goes fast, yet it slaps us in the face and it goes fast. And like then it's over. Um You don't want to start with scores? What did you
No,
say?
I want to start with do you want to let the people know about your day? Do you have anything to get
I
off
mean,
your
yeah, like I
chest?
mean, the five
You've had a
listeners
big
probably already
day.
know. So, like the day was crazy. So Prior Lake had their graduation at like 6 o'clock. So the Section 6 championship games needed to be during the day. So we have had just the longest day. PMAC's work has been very understanding. His day job of the schedule, not regular.
Yeah,
The girls ended
shout
up
out my
playing.
managers. Shout out a lot of the people, like actually like the office vibes this week were absolutely electric. They're like, good luck tomorrow night, like blah, or tomorrow, this was yesterday, like blah, 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 blah. Like my manager and like
They're invested. So they
there's
were
actually
invested.
there's like a lot of like lacrosse parents too, and like so a couple of newer lacrosse parents. Like so, it's been a good vibe in the office. Like they're following along, and I got a message after Tuesday night, from my trader, and so it's been fun, in that regard. So yeah, big shout out to the employer.
Yeah, so it's just been kind of a weird, like the fact that we weren't on the field, that we kind of had a break today and we didn't just like come from a game is kind of throwing me off. I also will share that I got wickedly rear-ended today on my way to PMAC's game. So the timing of it was in between our game, on my way to PMAC's game, and I've never really been in a car crash before, thank God. I did get rear-ended one time in high school, coming home from high school. Like it was like really, really I think we might have exchanged. We did exchange because I remember pulling into like the gas station, but like there, I don't think I needed to bring my car in. Like there was
Like
no damage
exchange
there.
fists, like you guys were fighting.
No.
No, I know. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
exchanged insurance cards. Sorry. But like no damage was done. I didn't need to bring my car in or whatever. So today I'm sitting and if you've ever been in a crash, like God willing, they're all minor. Like this is all I can think about today is that it was like so like, no one was hurt. But like it is just such a bizarre thing that happens because you have this moment of like, what the heck was that? Before you register of like, oh my gosh, my car was just hit. So I'm sitting at the light on 13 getting on to in Prior Lake. So I hadn't even gotten out of Prior Lake yet. And sitting at the light and the light underneath the overpass, getting on to, I think you're technically 13 still, where you merge onto 169 North. So people who have no cardinal direction bearings, you're going to need to get your maps out, because something I've challenged myself to get good with is like north, south, east, and west, because there was a time that I was like, what are you saying to me? And that's such an adult thing to be like, you go north down this way, and I'm that person now. But I was sitting at a light and just kind of like sitting there hot, kind of in a trance from our game. I'm not going to lie. But I do know that my foot was like on the brake, because the moment my car started moving to hit the car in front of me was a very bizarre feeling of like, how is this happening? And when the light's still red and you're moving and like this loud noise, it's a really crazy moment in your life. So I ended up being car number 3 in a 4-car sort of crash. I guess you can use the word crash. And we all were okay. So a car hit the car behind me, and I hit the car in front of me. And the car in front of me happened to be a lacrosse parent. So kind of like, thankfully, we are now bonded for this in this moment forever. And she's a mom, and I appreciated her moment of mom, and let everybody know how pissed we were because we had someplace to be. And once we kind of did, I was the one to call 911. I kind of like went up to the person behind me, and then the gal who hit us was like doing an ambulance, and everyone was pretty much unscathed. And I think it was more of just like this isn't really inconvenience at that point. When everybody's okay, then we get to be pissed about it. But I mean, is there like a privacy rule on, I don't even think I've shown you the picture yet.
We don't need to show pictures. We don't need to
Okay,
show
we got
pictures or names, but
yeah, no, but like, so the car came in and basically she didn't stop.
Yeah.
The trooper and I did have a conversation when he was talking to me, and I was like, how fast do you think she was going? And he said, because there was no evidence of skid marks, she probably was coming in at 40 miles an hour to dead stopped cars. And so she hit a car, the car hit me, and I hit another one. And my car has pretty minimal damage. The guy behind me, his license plate actually got like sucked into my bumper, and like my bumper like grabbed onto his license plate, and the trooper had to like take his license plate plastic thing and like pop it out of my bumper. And we were kind of laughing about that. Again, everybody was okay, so we can be angry, and we can be inconvenienced, and we can be sad about it. But
thankfully everyone's okay.
Yep,
and
very much so. And it's just
this is why we podcast. We get to, I know you've been worked up, so this is a way way for us to get these emotions. Not
the therapy that I signed up for it, but just a reminder to everybody, let's use the platform to say, stay off your phone, because she was very distracted to what was in front of her. And hopefully she was a new driver. Maybe she's kind of learned her lesson to pay a little bit more attention, but I think it's a lesson to us all to pay more attention on the road, especially as there's kids out of school.
Yep.
I know the other day that there was a lot of kids biking and walking and rollerblading. So it really, and I was, even when we were driving home, I'm very shook up about it when I'm in my car now. And just kind of that like tense moment at stoplights and stuff, because it's just a little bit of like, ooh, that just happened, a little fresh wound. But it's a good reminder to everyone listening, use our podcast for good, not evil. To just, keep our eyes up, pay attention, even though it's really nice out. We gotta be paying more attention on the roads. I think it's, like I said, it's a good reminder for everybody to just have your eyes up, and give each other extra space, and keep your phone in the back seat.
Yeah. No road rage, no phones. We don't need that. A great PSA.
Hands-free. And the poor guy behind me, honestly, he was like, I think he got the wrath of said mom.
Yeah.
And he was like the calmest guy and like the nicest human. And like his car was the worst one besides.
Was it totaled?
Probably. It was leaking gas.
Yeah, so
shout out to Prior Lake Savage and the state troopers. Prior Lake Savage fire and police came on out, and they were all like amazing and got straight to work. Mr. Fireman was like very like coming up to us and like, are you sure we don't want an ambulance? Like they were rock stars. Dispatch, they were like on it. We got disconnected at one point, and they like called me back, and they were like, hey, we got someone. And it was I will say, there's a lot of complaints about our country, but I have to say our emergency services, when you need them, they are there. And so shout out to the fire department of Prior Lake Savage, cops, state troopers that were on duty on a Thursday, and they're going to work a Thursday night too. So
love it. Ted, welcome to the pod. How are we doing this evening? We're using our platform for good. We're reminding people to stay off their phones. But Ted, welcome to Down the Alley. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate you buying some time before I got here. We're dealing with pink eye in our household. And so there's eye drops there with 6 and 4-year-olds. There's sheets.
So Hattie has pink eye now too?
Yeah, I mean we haven't officially gone in and got diagnosed, which will probably happen tomorrow. But it's obvious. I'm no doctor, but it is pretty obvious. So we had to like wash all the sheets, and it's just been one of those days. As you know, Katie, I think you were talking about it when I got on about your fender bender. Something in the air today. I don't know. Just gotta move on, and sun will come up tomorrow, and we'll figure it out. But I'm here. Girls are finally sleeping, so I can talk lacrosse.
Now we get to podcast. Without further ado, let's dive into the girls section championship results. There's some interesting results all over the board. Boys, girls, section, east sections, west sections, north sections, south, and everything in between. I just love what's going on this year. Lacrosse has not, it's not let us down. It has lived up to expectations and more. And I don't know if that's the parity that we continue to talk about, that we've talked about all season long. I don't know if it just seems like there's more parity. Is there always this much parity?
I don't think so. There's every year I feel like we're good for maybe one or two kind of weird regular season upsets, but I feel like this has been one of the craziest playoffs that I've ever been from my time following high school lacrosse. And obviously I was, in it, and then kind of was out of it for a little bit and then got back into it. But it's got to be one of the craziest years as far as like heavy, not even heavy favorites, but like a lot of stuff unfolded way differently than we thought. And I do want to say, before we like dive into specific stuff, like one of the coolest aspects of all this is, we got on the podcast in February, we went through the sections and we all made picks, and we have to have some sort of take, right? Like we can't just go on a show and say, I don't know what's going to happen. Every team is good. We'll see. Like then nobody would listen. Like we have to try to come up with a case for, what we decide, is our picks or our storylines or whatever. And, as the season has gone on, we've done rankings, we've done different things. And every time there's a team that wins a game that we said they didn't think they're going to win, the kids are like right in our DMs being like, Matamidi is the best, right? And it's funny because like I feel like we were heavy Matamidi supporters have been all season, but then we made them a decent team in quotes on the power rankings, and like every win they've been playing great lacrosse the last 2 weeks, and every win, so one of their kids will just have a screenshot and say like decent team ? They sent me a picture of them holding the section championship trophy on the bus with like decent team ... And like I just love it. I think it's cool that the kids are like into it, and like I love that they're competitive enough to want to prove a bunch of talking heads wrong, clueless lacrosse coaches. And if that gives kids motivation, external motivation to play hard and get the upset and make it entertaining, then I guess I'll take it.
Katie, I know you just unmuted, but I just want to confirm, like, they're trying to either prove us right or wrong. Like I've gotten more confirmation on that this season than any other season that we've done. I know we've only been doing this a couple years. This year, they want to prove, especially the ones like we doubt or we're down on, like they want us proven wrong. And Katie, I'll shoot it over to you because you unmuted. That's what you said. That's been like your quote of the year. Prove me wrong. And there's been a few teams that have.
It started with the PL boys. It started with the PL. Like, I think it was last year that I was like, whatever. And I was like, and they got so mad. And then I was like, prove me wrong. But like, it's funny when we're actually right. But I was going to say the teams that like really follow us is so interesting because they're like in pockets of the metro. Like it's not the teams you expect. Like, I don't think any of the Prior Lake girls listen to the podcast or the coaches. Like maybe they'll listen to snippets or something, but like, it's not the teams like in the South Suburban Conference or so. It's like it's Mahtomedi boys are big fans. Elk River Zimmerman girls are big fans. You'll
Duluth,
get
Duluth boys.
Chaska boys up to Duluth, over to like some Gentry or Simley. You know what I mean? Like it's really interesting. Who's Chisago? No, Champlin Park girls.
Champlin Park.
So
Yep.
it's like we have these pockets of fans in like the corners of the metro, yet it's not the teams, and it's not like, oh, both the boys and the girls are big fans. It's like one or the other, because we don't really ever hear anything from the Elk River Zimmerman boys. I don't even think they're combined. It's just Elk River.
No, it's Elk River Zimmerman.
Okay,
Yeah.
but it's like, you know what I mean? Like there's
no, it's
just
very-
interesting followers
is
that
very-
like we and like we kind of get more like interested in them as they get more interested in us. And it's like Southwest Christian Girls, great example of like people we start to like connect with just through the fact that they were like, you doubted us, or like we just pulled it out of our butt one day that we were like, oh, they're undefeated.
Yeah.
Like then we were on them, and now it's like a friendship, but like it's so fun to see.
Yeah, I feel like you said, like the teams in our like, or the people in our own like network, like our first ring of network, don't listen or like aren't as into it. I almost feel like the South Suburban and like even our like close network are the biggest haters of the podcast. Like, or they're just using it like in a way that they can use it to motivate their team. But like, I feel like the teams that we talk about the most, because they're teams that we play and that we see a lot of, hate us the most for all the things we say, good or bad. If we compliment them, we didn't compliment them the right way. If we hate on them, we're assholes. And it's just like, I'm like, okay, well, obviously you don't like anything we say, again, which is fine. But you are right, Katie. It is like the ones that we are closest to and talk to about the most are not even the ones that we hear from. It is those outer teams, and maybe they like having a little bit of attention on them because they don't get covered. You know, Lax Hub isn't going to go up there, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. And it's funny, like, and then like the what's the other charter school, your hedge fund, PMAC, sorry, I'm not
Prep.
St. Croix Prep. And then it's like we talk about them and they're just like, haha, it's okay. Everyone thinks we're a charter school, it happens all the time. Or like Wayzata. We talk about Wayzata all the time, and I don't think we've ever heard from them.
Yeah, we've heard.
We have, okay.
Yeah, we have.
So but it's
we've
just
heard from
funny, and
Wayzata.
then like sometimes people are just like, haha, good one. Love what you said. And then there's like you said, then there's other people that it's like we compliment them and they still can't get out of bed in the morning because they're like, well, I can't believe you'd say that. It's
they're up at 5 a.m. on Friday listening.
Yeah,
they're up.
Yeah.
PTA Nation's up.
I know,
I'll comment further.
Said that.
I'll comment further on a couple of our pockets as we maybe get over to the boys' side. Let's start on the girls' side. I'll just start from the top. First game of the day yesterday on a Wednesday. Minnesota's favorite team, Gentry Academy, versus Stillwater. The Ponies prove us right.
Yeah. I think I had them at 1. Me and JP were the only ones who had Gentry in our top 4.
So to be fair, I didn't even.
They can write us a check.
Missed the first part of that podcast. I didn't even know Gentry was in section 4.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
So,
Good defense. Good defense.
But,
convenient defense, Ted.
Yeah.
I forgot they got moved, but yeah, congrats to Stillwater. So I haven't watched them play, but they're tough this year. Like, do they have a legitimate chance?
Did I say that to you, PMAC? Or did I say that to one of the girls' coaches?
You did mention something about the Ponies when we were out on the deck
I said
venting.
I want them to. I think I said I want them to win.
I mean, obviously seeds are going to come out. Obviously, Lakeville South is undefeated, but Stillwater.
But Stillwater
they
held
look
Lakeville
to be-
South. What was their score?
They look to be kind of laying in the weeds a little bit. And now maybe not so much anymore that we just hyped them
Yeah,
up.
right. We're gonna.
But you know, congrats to them nonetheless. Obviously a perennial power program that has been to state a lot. They've won state games. Have they made a final? I don't think they've made a final.
I don't think so.
They've
So
made
they
semifinals.
held Lakeville South to 10 goals, 4
Yeah,
to 10,
so
and we lost.
you get closer to the end and funny things happen in these championship games or in these semifinal games. I think Stillwater has a legitimate chance to be state champs this year. I just
I do
think they're a
too.
really good team. I got a really good vibe from their coach.
Yeah, she has a
I-
German short hair pointer. I mean, you can just not be more like of a salt of the earth human other than a German short hair
Yeah,
pointer
yeah.
owner.
And so that will be interesting. What's their record? I guess I could pull it up. But
I can see, but I can't.
I think they only have 2 losses. They have
Three
3,
losses.
13 and 3.
okay.
I literally just said this on our deck. I was like, I think I want Stillwater to do it, and I think they can. Like, I think they're the ones who have like a legitimate chance. And I
Yeah.
think like maybe they're a little under the radar, and like that's okay. But I think they're a powerhouse always. They won the U14 state championship last summer, so
And also-
got good girls coming up.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Did I see the state tournament? It's at Stillwater, but is it also at White Bear Lake High
Yeah,
School?
the girls will play their quarterfinal game at White Bear Lake. Where is that? I have no idea. I have
It's
no
like
idea.
close
It's
to
where
in
Nappy
Stillwater.
used to live.
Like what road do I take to get there?
Highway 61.
Oh, yeah.
I've never been on that road.
So,
I've been to Montemita, but I don't think I've ever
Yeah,
been to
Matamidi
in
and
my
White
life.
Bear Lake and Stillwater are all very close to each other.
Okay, so I've been to
Makes
Stillwater.
sense at why those two. So the girls do play at White Bear. So then if Stillwater wins, then they will play at Stillwater. Then like are all the semis at Stillwater?
Yeah. The rest of it's at Stillwater.
This might be an unpopular opinion, but like I think it would actually be the coolest thing in the world if a Stillwater team won
Yeah,
the
it'd be
state
so
title
cool.
at Stillwater. Like,
I
can
think
you
that's
imagine the
I think that's
crowd?
popular. I maybe then I'm unpopular too, because I think that would be so cool.
Like,
It'll never
Stillwater gets-
happen, dude. You're cursed. If you host the state tournament, you don't win. Like that's
Well, they
that's
made it,
bad vibes. That's
they made
bad vibes.
Yeah,
I will say, I think I said this on our podcast after we played them. I don't know if it's a choice, but they like go into like their like gator shed for like their pregame.
Home field advantage.
But I'm like, our team was like in the school in that like locker room.
Right.
Like they come out of the school part. The
Yeah.
girls were like in the shed where they keep like the tractor, and I was like,
No,
I don't know if that's
That's what they do. Like that's their thing.
comfy where you're comfy. You
this
know,
is an established program. Like, can they get like a shed built?
they
for
don't
them?
need it.
No,
They don't need it.
doing
I
great
mean, come on.
without it. Yeah, no, I think. Yeah,
I
Stillwater.
think you're right though. They have a legitimate chance, and I want them. I think they're my pick. I think they're my state pick.
I'm gonna go on the opposite and say if you host, I can't pick you. I
Why?
can't pick you.
It's not
It-
their
it-
choosing.
it's a vibe. Like it's like it's just a curse. It's just
What about section?
it's like dark magic.
high
It
section
just
seeds that win their section. They're hosting technically the section tournament.
I will say, and we'll
That's a
get
fair
into it
point.
later.
Thank you.
The section game I was at tonight was not. It felt like a neutral site for being a home game. for one
Interesting.
team.
That's interesting.
we'll get to that. Next game of the girls. This was an absolute barn burner. Did this go multiple overtimes or just one?
I
Chanhassen
think
EP.
one.
Two.
I think just one.
Two.
It was two?
Two.
No, it might have been three. It was three. Because I
Says
think there
two
might be a little
because of lack.
discrepancy on some overtime rules from a source that was at that game.
It says
Um,
OT2. It says OT2 in
Okay,
Lax
so
Hub.
two. Okay, so two. So there might have been a little like miscommunication on some overtime situations today. We don't really know the real rule, but I think we
This-
got it. I think we
this-
got it covered, but
I'm looking at the box score here. Chanhassen was up 7-0.
wow.
It was 9-5 at half.
I don't
So
feel so bad about our game then.
so EP battled, after giving up the first 7, they scored 5 of the next 7.
In the first half.
Yep, in the first half. So it was 9-5. And then they scored, it was 14-9. Or no, 14-8. Chan with about how long are the quarters? 25?
Or
Yeah.
halves.
Sorry,
Yeah.
how long half? So at 14:50, so about halfway
Halfway
through The second half, Eden Prairie scored 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in a row to take a 15-14 lead. Chanhassen scored at 24:46, so 14 seconds left in the game.
Yeah.
Yes, to tie it.
Yeah.
They won it in overtime. Tatum Nyan got the game tire and the game winner to win 16-15. Playoff Eden Prairie not going down without a fight. Chanhassen had some weird losses this year, but they figure it out and battle their way to get back to the state tournament.
Wow.
Chanhassen is an interesting team. I saw them for the first time on what would have been Monday when they played Orno. Orno was up like 11-3 on them, like halfway through the first half. Like similar vibe to this game, but roles flipped, right? Chanhassen was the one that went down. Chanhassen then came back, almost tied it up at halftime, then basically went goal for goal until about 4 minutes left until they finally pulled away. But I mean, they've got a stacked roster. I mean, there were girls scoring left and right in every position on that team. Like, there's not a single player that I see hold the ball on offense and I'm like, oh, it might be a liability there. So it's, I mean, they might have gotten the bad streaks out coming into playoffs. I don't know how to feel about them. I like this program. I like their head coach. We interviewed her at the beginning of the year. Go listen to it if you haven't heard it yet. But yeah, interesting team. Kind of some weird streaks going on this week.
I will say I'm going to give a lot of credit to their captains. Like I said, I've said this multiple times about Chan. There's not a bad day at Chan captains or Chan practice, because they are like Tatum specifically and Allie Welder, like are the two most positive people that I won't be surprised if you get into a huddle when you're down by however many goals and they just like pump the positivity. And like, it's so believable that it's like they come together and they're just such like solid human beings that they've like got their team to rally behind them. And it's like, yeah, like it's go time and they get the job done. So I'm going to pump the culture narrative that they have an amazing sideline and team chemistry that like, there's no getting down on ourselves. And that's what's made them pull out these wins. So congrats to them.
Tatum Nyan, they were down. It was like 10-2 at one point in that Orno game. They finally scored. She comes sprinting from the top of the box line, the 30-yard line, right into the huddle and goes, one more. And then did that every single other goal that they scored. Just one more. And then Allie Welder, just 10 goals in that game. Not a big deal. Section 6 semifinal, just putting the team on her back. But yeah, no, you're right. Those two absolutely
Smile on their face.
Smile
Yeah,
on
they
their
love
face.
to play.
Tatum's like coaching her teammates in a positive way mid-play, like knowing what she's talking about intelligently, but like not, sometimes that relationship gets a little weird when kids try to like be a coach on the field. No, she's killing it. I think you're right. The culture on the team should take them a long way. We shall see. But yeah, I really like that program.
I am still rooting for Stillwater, but it would be kind of fun to see a Chan Lakeville South like rematch.
Yeah.
Because it was a close game last year. So it would be interesting.
Couple interesting stat lines from that game. 4 goals from Chanhassen got 4 goals from Gabby Buchan, Tatum Nyan, and Allie Welder, and 13 saves from their goalie Katie Kohlerin. On the Eden Prairie side, Brinley Hopper, 7 goals on 7 shots, so not a bad day shooting, and 2 assists as well for 9 points in the game. So a couple big time performances.
And shout out to EP, a source today who was at the game made the comment that you said, Ted, that playoff EP is different. Playoff EP is different. And so you called that out, Ted, and I think they battled, and great season for EP. Never count EP out. I might have counted EP out this year, but their postseason really showed that like they can't be counted out. They're still a contender. They're still in this game. They're still in this fight.
On to BSM Maple Grove. Benilde St. Margaret's wins in a defensive battle 6-4. I had a source there and a lot of notes. The source was fired up for this one. And It's not the Mrs. PMAX source. I've got a different source.
I'm
I got
bummed
it.
about this one. I
I
was
got-
Maple Grove.
Yeah. Well,
Let's
yeah, we're
hear
out.
what the boots on the ground say.
We're
Let's
cheering for
hear
the
about
Crimson.
it.
So the Mrs. PMAX source, you're getting some competition here. But yeah, the source, or I'm a PMAX, not Mrs. PMAX, PMAX.
Not the OG PMAX source too, because there was an OG PMAX Twitter account.
There was.
PMAX
All right, I'm gonna
source.
need a different name for my new source. We'll
Yeah.
we'll get
RIP.
to that. We'll get to that. Maple Grove out to a 2-0 lead early. BSM answers back. And in a defensive battle, especially where girls, the clock is running. The source does say that this game went way longer than what a typical game goes. It was kind of weird. A lot of whistles, a lot of cards, refs kind of taking a lot of time into between, these calls and things. So that was weird, especially in this hot week. May have played a factor. I'm not sure. I guess Maple Grove's penalty kill. What would you call it in girls lacrosse? Just player down?
Man down.
Man down. Yeah, player down.
I guess you could call it a penalty kill because a yellow card is a 2-minute penalty.
Yeah, no, I like calling it a
yellow
penalty
card,
kill.
Just refer to it as man down. And
I like
to make
power
the-
play. And I know it's a PLL thing, but I like power play. It
Yeah,
works
like a
across the
hockey
board.
thing.
Everyone gets it,
It kind of is. We don't actually use those terms. It is like a man up, man down, and I always like to say human, not just man, right? It can
Yeah.
be human up because I actually it's one of my pet peeves.
EHO,
when someone
EHO,
says-
extra human opportunity.
and I hate when people are like it's woman
I
up,
like
it's
it.
woman down.
Human down defense. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and it's because I'm not saying man. Yes, it's man down, but I say human because I think it's silly when someone's like woman up, woman down. I just think it's too much of a mouthful.
Sounds like this was an aggressive one, kind of back and forth both sides. Crimson had a power play late in the game, down by 2. Weren't able to capitalize. BSM had a good penalty kill of their own. I guess Brooke Nelson, according to the source, is the shout out of the game. Played out of her mind, especially in the second half. Tons of 8-meter shots blocked, a bunch of saves. And I guess the source has seen, her play quite a bit. And this is one of the, best games of that they've seen live. So, and the team attempted to do the classic, dump the water on the coach. Lakers did not do that today. That would have been a good move by the players. But they tried to pull a fast one. Coach saw it coming and got out of the way. So, congrats to the Red Knights.
BSM players tried to do that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Anna's sharp. Coach Anna is sharp. I've met her now. I had never met her, and I met her, and she is as sharp as a tack.
She's cool. I've talked to her after the Lakeville South game. Very, very cool coach. Very well educated in the lacrosse world. Brooke Nelson, I've seen her play 3 times, I believe, over the last 2 seasons. Easily one of the best goalies in the state. I mean, she is phenomenal. She's making athletic plays. She can get anything up high, down low. She's commanding the defense. I'm glad the source called that out. I don't remember exactly where she's playing next year. I think it's a D2 in the Midwest somewhere. But yeah, phenomenal goalie.
Mrs. PMAX source would know. We'll get
Uh,
comments. We'll
yeah.
get comments of where she's playing.
Let's keep her moving on to today. I'm just gonna rip the Band-Aid off here.
Whoa.
Edina with the upset. It's the year of the upset. The Hornets in overtime take down the Lakers to take section 6. This section has had a new winner the last 3 years. Lakers 3 years ago, Rosemount last year, and now it's the Hornets' turn. It's a tough section. It's anyone's game. This one came down to extra time, free lacrosse, an absolute barn burner. I got to watch a little bit of it on the stream while I was getting the boys ready. I can't comment too much, but this is one for the books, clearly going to overtime in a section final. What do you guys have?
I don't know.
I can take it. Obviously, tough loss for the Lakers, but I think Edina to try to be as neutral as possible here, they have waited their turn. They had some heartbreak the last couple years, losing in the section final with, I would say, like pretty solid teams. And they kind of ran into sort of the tough like situation of both teams could probably be state tournament caliber teams. Someone's got to lose, right? I did catch the end of the game on the stream. One thing I did not I guess I didn't know. It's sudden death in girls in playoffs, but not in regular season.
So that was it.
So that's
really
goofy.
threw us all for a loop. We had, because I'm in the box. That's when like there started to become like nobody really knew what was going on. It was announced that it would be like sudden death, or no, it was announced that it wasn't going to be sudden death. But then the box pulled up the section rules, and it was sudden death.
Now, so that is
the
interesting.
Chan EP game might have not been sudden death. I don't think anyone scored, but I think they were told you're playing it out.
Interesting.
It was, so that's, someone told me that who was at the Chan game. They were like, okay, so this is different than what we were told last night. So there might have been something. Shout out to our ref lineup today. We actually knew Coach Heather sent us you can look and see who your refs are, and we had a solid crew today. Probably the best that we could have asked for, to be honest, and it showed. There was a card that's a little controversial, because now that we've watched film, it's very apparent that it was a card that maybe it was not legally a card. Like maybe it was a push or something. I'm not saying it's not. It wasn't a foul. But to give the play the caliber of play that it was to distribute a card for it when there was 2 seconds left.
Yeah, I saw that as well. I was
a little bit kind of unnerving. If
so, were you guys then human down to start overtime?
I believe so.
Okay.
So the 8 meter, and if you remember in the Lakeville South game, if there's a penalty and the time runs out, the 8 meter still gets set up and you are allowed the 8 meter shot. And I believe that's how they scored the tie. Again, this is a whirlwind. I've had a day. I'm eventually going to go back and watch, but I'm pretty sure that's how it played out. Somebody call me clueless and tell me it was different. And then we did go into overtime, man down.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously sudden death is tough, but I coming from, again, someone who hasn't watched a lot of girls lacrosse this year, I think she's number 5 on Edina.
Yeah.
Plays center midi, takes the draws.
11.
I think
about L.
No,
L is number 5.
Okay,
Nicola Santoni is 11, I believe.
11. Nicola Santoni.
She scored their game winner with just like an absolute cannon of a shot.
Yeah, she stood out to me.
Yeah,
just a warrior out there. And all the girls played hard and left on the field. It was a pretty physical game from the.
Mm-hmm.
I only saw about maybe 3 or 4 minutes and then overtime, but I mean, everybody was selling out to win that game, and a nice goal at the end for Edina. Again, tip of the cap to them, because like Prior Lake beat them pretty good earlier in the season, so they had to kind of rise up and believe in themselves and go like, hey, are we gonna go through this again, or like, do we have a chance? And I didn't see the beginning of the game. It sounded like Prior Lake got the start they wanted, and then Edina was able to rally, and that's the nature of championship games. But obviously we know a lot of the Prior Lake players, so heartbreak for them. But I do want to give credit to Edina.
It's their first go at state in program history.
They have a really good team, and
I will call out my mom, because she said such a mom thing. I did call my mom because I was sad. Who's in Israel right now, so she was like reading in bed before they were going to bed, and she did say, because I was like mad, cake eaters, Edina, hate them, they always win, and she was just like, well, didn't you beat them a couple of years ago? And I was like, that's not the point. That's not the point today. The point is that I'm mad about it. And it was, you're right, in 2021, it probably could have been anybody's game. So I guess notes from my perspective, it was a really physical game, but it was a really, really exciting, clean game. Like, it wasn't chippy. These are two teams who, like you said, really battled, like really evenly matched. Like, it was just really fun to see two teams really well prepared for each other too. We definitely like knew enough about each other that everyone was playing a little bit of chess during that game, and it was fun. It was fun to see such a high level of play. Nicola Santoni, you're right. Mary Velmer. I better look at the roster before I butcher their names. I mean, we have had their names taped on the bulletin board all season because they are really dominant. Mary, no, well, both of them, but one particularly, I think it's Nicola, is like the fastest human on this planet. And
God, yeah.
her speed is eye-catching and insane. Anytime she's on the field, that I'm just like, yeah, she's really fast, but then you're like, holy smokes, she's so fast.
Yeah.
Edina's got a stable of athletic midfielders that'll just gonna sprint up and down the field.
It is
all day
something
long
to watch. Shout out Elle Busby, because I think she had about 5 goals and has an absolute rocket. Super strong player. Like, you cannot, I'm not trying to discredit the girls. Like, nobody jumped down my throat, but a lot of times, and this is actually something that really kind of grinds my gears that we don't talk about more, is about being really strong in the girls game, because it's not as physical you think, but like, there's a really big element to having a lot of physicality and getting defended and not losing the ball. And Elle really exemplifies that. Like, she is so solid and you can't move her, and powerful in her like steps on the 8, like that. It really comes across in these games that when we're trying to defend her and she can just get through, like, just like you said, stable, like a workhorse. It's the year of the upset, and I hate to be on the other side of it. And today was, I'm not gonna lie, DTA Nation, today sucked. It was a sucky moment for us all. So teams that are out there that lost your big game, I'm right there with you, especially these championship games. Number 2 in your section, it is a terrible feeling, but the coaching staff today has some, it's been pretty positive, saying like, let's not discredit our entire season because of this game. So I will channel that sentiment from Coach Jessica, her long text message to us, to all the teams that lost the last 24 hours, because like I said, we're right there with you. We're rooting for everyone going to state, obviously, but let's not discredit these, the number 2 teams upsets, whatever they may be, to your great season.
I really like that you pointed that out, because we talked about it, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, I don't know when it was, but like, sometimes a good team just wins and there's nothing you can do about it. And I respect that you recognize Edina as a good team, shout out a lot of their players, and hey, it's just the way it falls sometimes and not much you can do about it. So
It is.
good
And
on
I think PMAC said, I don't know if you said it, I think you said it to just me. Like, I was like, I don't think it's on the podcast, but just, section 6 is really tough. We talk about it a lot. And this year specifically, PMAC, I think he said to me, was like, Edina PL matchup is the way it should have been. Not to shut down the other teams in the section, but this year, both on the boys and the girls side, these were the 2 teams that needed to play each other to kind of decide, and that's kind of the way it's supposed to be. But losing a section final 2 years in a row is kind of another story, but 365 days we'll be back out there. So and you also said, PMAC, I'll shout you out too, saying, we're very lucky we had the record we did, and a lot of coaches would be really happy with this. And obviously, like, the girls are awesome. We got to do awards after, and we need to give credit where credit's due and not get overshadowed by getting upset today. You're the upset. So congrats, Edina, winning section 6. It's a gauntlet.
On to section 3. This has been one of the more
Upsets.
Yeah, and gauntlets, and absolute gauntlets.
Overtime thrillers. Tonight was an exciting
my
night.
gosh.
so
Holy smokes.
okay, so section 3, this has been maybe the most interesting section on both the boys and girls side in terms of upsets, teams that weren't, heavily favorited. First thing I'm going to point out, am I losing my mind or does well, yes, okay, I've already lost my mind. But in terms of this conversation right now, Simley girls, Eastridge girls, overtime according to Lax Hub 8-9. Am I looking at the correct year? On MSHSL, the bracket, it says 9-6. Am I losing my mind?
No, you're not. I saw that too.
Okay. So since I like overtimes, I'm gonna roll with an overtime situation and not confirm further. I'm gonna trust Lax Hub, even though I know we can't trust Lax Hub, but I'm gonna roll with this was an overtime thriller. Simley, what a heck of a run. Cinderella story. Unfortunately, it comes to an end in extra time. And Eastridge, is this their first run at state?
I believe so.
Congrats to them. What a run by both of these teams. And they go to free lacrosse. Like for the people, section 3.
And Eastridge, thank you for proving me right. I could have at least one correct take from preseason saying that Eastridge could potentially be what we would call a Cinderella story, maybe not on the radar, but has a chance to do some damage. And not only did you do some damage, you ran all the way through section 3 for your first state tournament appearance. Yeah, awesome. Awesome run, and cool to see a 3 and a 5 playing in a section final.
JP, I'm going to cut you off quick before you go. Speaking of Cinderella story, Florida Panthers, for all my Laker listeners, they know I've been on the Florida Panther train the last few weeks. They just went in overtime. So CJ and all the boys in Prior Lake, Florida's still in it. Don't sleep on the Panthers. JP, back to you.
Hey, shout out Miami. It's the year to be from Boca Raton, baby. I mean, it's a good time to be in South Florida. But anyway, we'll get back to lacrosse. I mean,
you of all people would reference Boca Raton.
Yeah, baby. Anyway, section 3, we'll get to it later, but I mean, for crying out loud, this has been the best night of lacrosse, best night of playoff lacrosse you could ask for. Eastridge, I mean, shout out. I love that we're getting a bunch of new teams to state, a bunch of teams that haven't been in a couple years, just getting some new logos, some new colors on the state t-shirts. It's like the college football playoff, right? We love seeing new teams get in the mix. Some new teams get a chance. Sydney Myers out on Eastridge, 3 goals, 2 assists today, 5 points total, was the points leader for Eastridge. That's all I got from this game. I mean, shout out Simley. They were down 4-2 at half. Second half, they win the second half 6-4. I mean, not being out when you're down big, not big, but down at the half in the section final. I mean, hell of a game. Don't know much about it from the detail standpoint, but yeah.
I was going to shout out Simley, the 5 seed.
Yeah.
The 5 seed beating the 1, beating the 4, then beating the 1, and then playing the 3. Like, it just doesn't make any sense on paper, but that's why you play the game. And I mean, remember how obsessed we were with the Kurowski sisters? I heard they were killing it. So we're here for Simley, a 5 seed, and the Kurowski sisters. And section 3, you have made this podcast what it is, because without you and like the Champlain Park girls, we're nothing.
We would just be clueless lacrosse coaches and not a podcast.
So real quick, let's just get a count. Section 1 did not go to overtime. Section 2 did. Section 3 did. Section 4 did not. Section 5 did not. Section 6 did. So that's 3 overtime finals, right? On the girls' side, and there was multiple on the boys' side as well. So that's awesome to see. And then this section 8, which is the next game PMAC will bring up, was 2-goal game, and the section 5 final was a 2-goal game as well. So lots of really close games, which is what you want to see in a section final. Like it's essentially the round of 16, right? Like it's Technically maybe you could move some things around but like, this is kind of where, obviously is a stepping stone for most teams, like try to make it to your final and see what happens. But PMAC, I'll throw it back to you, kind of to keep it moving here.
Yeah, on to, kind of like these last two, interesting game here between Elk River and STMA. The favorite kind of wins here. I think we were all over Elk River, kind of from the beginning. This was a team to kind of destined to win this section. They had all the pieces, on paper. But you can have all the pieces on paper and do nothing with it. So shout out to Elk River putting those pieces that they had on paper together and making this run. And STMA almost spoiled it for them, but they power through and win a close one.
Yeah. Shout out to them. They started the season 0-2, couple big losses, and then kind of were back and forth, but ended the season with 5 wins leading into tonight, and made it a battle. And so I think a nice stepping stone for them, 10-6 season. But the Elks do make it back to state, and they gave, I can't remember who it was last year. It was either Chan or Lakeville South in the first round. They gave them a run for their money. It may have been overtime, actually. And so not a team that you want to sleep on. It's not a matchup a top team probably wants in the first round. But shout out to them, and they get a chance to sort of redeem themselves, see if they can, get over the hump and win their first state game.
I also want to shout out STMA briefly too. I know conference doesn't really matter so much in the rankings, the shakeout for sections, but STMA went 2-4 in their conference this year, and not to be phased by that at all, making it to their section final. I mean, that's a hell of an accomplishment to be kind of put in the back of your ring like that and have your back against the wall and still come out pretty victorious. I mean, second place in your section, it's not what everyone's their end goal is by any means, but still a hell of an accomplishment, something to hold your head high for.
On to section 7, Champlin Park kind of ran away with this section. This is a team and a program I'm going to put up again. I don't know what awards we're actually going to do, but I am nominating Champlin Park for best social media in the game because they have the electric social media on the girls' side, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, they do. So I am nominating them for the best social media in Minnesota lacrosse this year for the 2023 season. Again, I don't know if we're actually going to do that award. I think we should. And Champlin Park runs away with this one over Centennial. Congrats, Champlin. Have they been in the mix at the state tournament?
I don't think they were there last year because Andover made it, right? They were their section 7, correct?
Yeah.
But they have been, the Champlin Park girls program, I'm fairly certain has been to state. They've been good for a while.
So
they were 2019. Yeah.
Okay.
I just looked at their last year's state. I can't share it because Groot's howling.
Groot's barking.
They lost to Lakeville South by 1. They beat Andover by 1. And they lost to Stillwater by 1.
Elk River. Yeah, there you go. They're a tough team.
I guess that'll do it on the girls' side. Congrats to all the teams that punched their ticket. We'll see you at
What's our picks?
We'll get to that. We'll talk about that momentarily. We'll talk about that after we talk about the boys. Because I think we'll have a similar conversation on the girls' side. It should be interesting seating. But congrats to all the teams that punched their ticket, and we'll see you at the state banquet Sunday night. It's going to be a fun evening for the teams that make it, and then we'll all be there Tuesday, quarterfinals, getting after it. So congrats and let's have a week here. And without further ado, let's keep it moving on to the boys. Looking back last night, Wednesday night, we'll just start from the top. Maple Grove putting a little scare on against BSM. I'm sure Maple Grove was really fired up playing their former head coach. I don't think they needed any extra motivation other than that to, come out humming. Any inside sources? This was, I was getting ready for my game today, so I wasn't really watching any other film on any of these games being played. Did you have any eyes or sources?
I watched the stream of this kind of in and out. It was, RoboCam situation, so I was kind of watched a little bit here and there. Tip of the cap to Maple Grove. Benilde had a couple moments where they went on big runs and made it like a 4 or 5 goal game, and Maple Grove would just battle back, take what they could get. I think Benilde is obviously an extremely talented program, and they play fast. They play, they don't make a lot of mistakes. They're tough. And so it's hard to, if you go down by 5-6 goals against a team like that, they're not the type of team it's easy to claw back on. And Maple Grove, this may come off the wrong way, but Maple Grove, I don't know if this was a game plan decision, if it was an adjustment, like it was a pregame game plan or an adjustment that was made, or if it just happened this way. But it seemed like at one point in the game, they made a choice that they were not going to be better lacrosse players than Benilde, and they just decided to be better athletes. And that's not saying Benilde players are not good athletes, but I think Maple Grove realized the strength and identity of their team was their athleticism and their ability to just get man goals, just like go to the rack, and they were willing to shoot and take shots and kind of live and die by that. Something that Goltz actually pointed out to me. And he just said, like, they were taking a lot of shots that a lot of Minnesota team, like coaches, would tell a kid not to shoot. But they were like, I got my hands free. This is the best we're going to get. And I'm just going to rip it and see if I can beat the goalie. And they got a couple past him. And then I think that started the wave of like maybe the Benilde goalie not seeing the ball as well, maybe in his head a little bit. And it just allowed him to stay in the game. But, obviously Benilde at the end of the day was the better team. But this was a much closer game than I anticipated it being.
I was hoping for this upset. Nothing against Benilde. I love what Maple Grove is doing up there. I've already said it, but like I like seeing new teams get an opportunity at state. Maple Grove had a hell of a year. I mean, brand new head coach, obviously not new to coaching lacrosse, but new to the program. So I mean, that's a big deal. Shout out Coach Ficken. I mean, goes 12-1 in the regular season, undefeated in their conference, 14-2 overall. Ricky Peterson, who is, I believe, a midfielder for Maple Grove, led the team in both goals and assists, 53 goals on the year, 25 assists on the year, 78 points total. I mean,
only a sophomore too.
Only a sophomore. He's an attackman. I mean, that's a career year if you are a well-established senior on a good team. I mean, that kid has nothing but the highest reaches to attain. I think Maple Grove is going nowhere. I think Benilde would be foolish, and they're not a foolish team to count Maple Grove out for next season and not be afraid of them for next year. I think Maple Grove has a lot of things going their way. They were so close to pulling it off this year. I love that program. I think that they've got nothing but the highest goals to attain from here on out. But yeah, I mean, shout out Benilde. They are who they are, and they keep winning because they're a good team and they're a well-coached program. There's a reason they're going back to state undefeated. I mean, I don't even know how long their winning streak is right now, but it's spanning multiple seasons. I think 3 seasons right now. I mean, they're the clear 1 seed going into state. I would be afraid to play them in any round, and they've earned that. So yeah, I don't know. Watch out for the Knights, man. They're good.
So that was section 5, Benilde punching their ticket. Section 4 was the next game of Wednesday. Matamidi over Stillwater. A team that has been, like Ted mentioned earlier, they've been vocal on the socials.
They've been decent. They've been decent all year. Now
they've been decent. Now what are they, Ted? Where are you putting them?
They're extremely decent. They are more than decent. They are Section 4 champs. I don't know what switched in mid-May for them. I don't know if they got guys back from injury. I don't know if they got a case of Prime that got delivered to their locker room. I don't know if there's a new energy drink being brewed in Matamidi. Coaches adjustments. Nice weather. Maybe Matamidi kids like the nice weather, but something flipped, and they're playing a lot better. You know, they had that win against Shakopee at the end of the season, which is a huge win. Kind of dominated through Section 4 every game. This game was a 4-goal game, not like a blowout, but I don't think Stillwater was in this game at all from what I was seeing. It was kind of a 4 or 5 goal kind of back and forth, but the gap was still 4 or 5 most of the way. I believe a highlight from this game got put on Lacrosse Network.
It did.
Where a Matamidi player took a shot, Stillwater player blocked it. It went way up in the air. Nobody knew where it was, and it landed right behind the Stillwater goalie and went in with backspin or whatever, which, you know, some days that's just the type of bounce you get, whether good or bad, depends on which side you're on. And something where it's like, when we talk about these section finals and they're so close, I mean, winning a championship, whether it's a section championship or eventually the state championship, there are so many factors over the course of a playoff run, even in a season, of just stupid bounces that could make or break, right? And Matamidi had them that day. So, congrats to them. They found their best play at the right time, and certainly no stranger to the state tournament. This was the 6th year in a row Stillwater and Matamidi played for the section final in Section 4. So
yeah, it seems like they always are the two at the end. And I feel like we haven't played Matamidi in a while in the regular season. We used to play them all the time. So I was kind of wondering what was going on up there. Go ahead.
You think you're going to get him in the first round? I was thinking about, we'll get to it later.
We'll get to it. We don't know.
Yeah.
Stay in the moment. We're not there yet. We're not there yet.
No, we'll shout out Matamidi. I mean, hey, you got to be good to get lucky. And sometimes you do just get the bounces to go your way, but clearly Matamidi was doing some right things to get some lucky bounces. I don't know. Getting a bounce like that, you got to go watch the highlight on Lacrosse Network. Shout out Brendan Shatner, I think is his last name, got the video. Crazy highlight. I don't think any of us have seen a goal in the amount of lacrosse we've seen just like that. Matamidi, I mean, struggled in their conference this year. They went 3-2, had some weird losses, but they really got together at the end, finished 12-4. I mean, they're a solid program. When I was coaching at STA, were always a very physical, tough team. It's a rivalry, so that probably had something to do with it. But I mean, if you guys will get to it, but not a team I'd necessarily want to see in the first round come to state, because they're back for the first time in I think 4 seasons since 2019, and they're looking to prove something. They've been telling us all year that they are better than a decent team. We've been asking for it. Prove us wrong. We'd love to have it happen. So watch out for the Zephyrs, man. Also, shout out Ted and myself. We called Matamidi as a Section 4 winners in the preseason. So we're not as clueless as you may think.
Not a big deal. On to Section 2, where we were kind of waiting for the chaos to happen, and it happened. It happened a little, maybe a round later than we anticipated. Again, I think, and I'm going to get to Shakopee, but I think most people would have probably picked Chanhassen.
I think so. Too. I don't think that's a knock on Shakopee. I just think Chan was kind of like looking pretty dominant all year, except for the BSM game.
So I'll let you guys break it down, because Ted, were you watching this game?
I watched a little bit of it, yeah.
So I just want to this is 100% serious. I want to congratulate Shakopee. I know we've had our riffs. The boys were calling me out on Instagram when they were on the bus after. I'm glad I could be a source of motivation, from this platform to fire Shakopee up. to their first state tournament. Like, congrats to the Sabres. Congrats to the South Suburban Conference. We almost had 4 teams make the state tournament. We'll get to that that game later, but 3 teams repping, Shakopee being one of them. That's huge for our conference. I know conference doesn't really matter, but like, that's big for the South Sub. That like proves that like our games, game schedules, super tough. So like, that's going to only help us, in the future and whatever. So shout out to Shakopee. Thanks for chirping me. Congrats. I'm here for it. Keep the chirps coming. Keep winning games. Do your thing, Shakopee. I hope you go on a run and until/if you play PL. So that's all I got on them.
I gotta admit, so I went to see Shakopee on my very first night of games this year, and they played Buffalo, and it was a weird game. I think the final score, I'm
like 8-4 or something.
8-4, something like that. It was ugly. Couple garbage goals at the end. 8-4. You got it right, Ted. I would have never guessed Shakopee to win their section. I would have honestly pegged them at a semifinal out in kind of close game, whatever. But I mean, they've got some absolute ballers on this team. Linus Toward is just putting up numbers. 54 goals this season. Only 12 assists, but the guy's getting fed all day long. He doesn't have time to throw out assists. 66 points total for the season. I mean, the kid is almost unstoppable. Shakopee is this may sound disrespectful, but I think in a good way, a sleeper team coming into state, because I think they could make a very strong run into the Final Four. And I think that they could shock the world and maybe make a run at a final. I will get to it. I think they're going to be a top 4 seed. But Shakopee really proved me wrong, certainly from my earlier thoughts on them from the beginning of the season.
JP, I rarely agree with your takes, but I'm going to agree with most of what you said. I think they're a sleeper team, but like in a good way. Like, I think they lost a couple and people started sleeping on them. The public started ignoring them, and now they're all the way back. They got under the radar a little bit. They're all the way back. And I agree. I think they could be on a run if they keep this train moving.
Listen, if PMAC's agreeing with me, then I must be right. So listen to us, folks. We're not that clueless sometimes.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of this game. It was a well-played game, both sides. Like Linus Toward, probably one of the best off-ball offensive players I have seen in Minnesota ever. Dude is crafty. He's so efficient with his movements and gets open, and when he gets his hands free, he can stick it. So I thought he was good, and then when we played them this year, I was like, holy smokes, this guy's much better than maybe I even anticipated, and I already thought he was good. So yeah, shout out to him.
Also, I want to talk about Chanhassen. If that's where you're going, go ahead.
I was saying with Shakopee, I was high on them going into the Section 2 playoff, and then again, no disrespect to these opponents, but a 5-5 game or a 6-5 game with Chaska, where they almost lost that game. I mean, they won it, right? They found a way, and then again with Eden Prairie. A mid-caliber team, I would say. They're 5-5 late. Eden Prairie has the ball, just like in Chaska game. Chaska had the ball late. Shakopee defense finds a way to stand up, and they get the ball kind of last possession, win it. And I'm thinking like, all right, Chan's a different story than these other two teams. And Shakopee just played lights out in that game and was motivated, and it was like a different team. Maybe they were just holding back and keeping it all in the tank for the final. Which if you can do that, I don't know how that's like. I don't even know people that could like really do that. But goalie goal, they had a goalie goal. Not only a goalie goal, he face dodges a guy and throws a twister. Like looked kind of like a cutting midi, to be honest with you. Like it must be jumping and shooting drills at Pracky. Because just nasty hands by the keep here for a goalie goal. Great highlight, whoever got it. I was it Vogel who got it.
Yeah, shout out Gabe Vogel. He and Brendan are absolutely killing it on the highlights right now. Go check them out. So
Yeah, so like I think momentum was there. Obviously tough defensively. They're gritty. They get the ball on the ground. They make life miserable for you to just play offense and get easy clears and like just those little things. They remind me of the LA Kings from back in the late 2000s, right? Where they were like always the 8 or 7 seed in the NHL playoffs, and they were just so tough and gritty and just beat the crap out of you and were big. And it just that's how you win in the playoffs. So they remind me of a lot of that team. And congrats to them for making their first state tournament.
I do quickly want to, we got to give some flowers to the teams that are losing in the section finals here. Chanhassen, I think I went to 3 of their games this year. Electric team to watch. I mean, they've got one of the most high-powered offenses out there. Dax Bush finishes the season with 56 goals, 18 assists, 74 points total, only a junior. He will be back. He will be a threat next year. Also, really want to shout out a graduating senior, Carter Van Hollen, going to St. John Fisher next season. He's going to have a stellar college career. Finishes the season 48 goals, 34 assists, 82 points total. The guy put up 5 goals, 1 assist last night. I mean, he put it all out on the line to try to get his team into this state tournament. I mean, he was every game I went to, he was running the offense, throwing absolutely unreal backhanders behind the backs. The kid's got a hell of a shot. I mean, he's a phenomenal player, a very intelligent player. I mean, that coaching staff is doing a great job with their offense. They are a thrill to watch. Go watch them next season because I think they're going to reload just fine. Chanhassen does a really good job of coming back to the top tier level that they're pretty consistently at. But definitely want to recognize some of those players. Aiden Maroney had a hell of a goal. I know I was a little late. I'm recovering from the stomach flu in the section semifinal against Minnetonka on Monday night. Maroney had a couple of unreal goals. I mean, that offense is just loaded on every single aspect.
Congrats to Shakopee again on what I believe is their first state tournament and pulling an upset. I'm going to call it an upset. I don't think I'm clueless for saying that. And shocking the world a little bit. So going on a run, repping the South Suburban. You got to love it. On to today's game, 2:00, a midday gamer, graduation day. Lakers versus Edina at Edina, the 3 versus the 1. Lakers 11, Edina 8 in an absolute thriller of a game. 3-goal game. Like, it was close. It was back and forth. I was trying to pull up the stats. The stats aren't on Lax Hub. And it's like one of those games where, like, I know, like, I'll shout Goltz out like after games or like 10 years later now, like he'll be able to tell you everything that happened in some random game junior year. And I'm like, dude, I don't even remember like yesterday. Like, what are you talking about, man? So like this is one of those games for me where I remember like bits and pieces of it, but I think I blacked out for most of the game. I think I there's not a lot I can tell you. I was just in one, running the box, getting the boys going. What were you saying? Sorry.
No, just making sure guys got on the field at the correct time and making sure you got guys subbing through the midline and not going off sides, right?
Yeah, I was just kind of in a different universe a little bit, just going.
Yeah, I watched the stream. This was a fantastic game. Like, just the speed, the intensity, the skill, the physicality. I mean, it was like physical in a skilled way, not physical in a bunch of meatheads out there running around trying to take each other's heads off. Like, it was an awesome game. And this is not a shot at the Lakers. I think 11-8 doesn't really showcase how close that game was. Just the score was not indicative of I kind of felt like that was a game that a couple bounces again here and there, it could have been an overtime game. Lakers had some really just big momentum swing goals. that when they needed one, they got one at the right time to kind of like either take away Edina's momentum or just get something going. And was able to do a couple runs. A shout out to a couple guys that's well, there's three players specifically that stood out to me. First of all, Luke Bloomer, goalie. He stood on his head. I mean, again, talk about momentum, right? Like they were throwing the book at the kitchen sink at Prior Lake at then that second half, and he stood tall. Number 27 on Prior Lake, Noah Young. Don't think I saw him lose a ground ball battle, and he picked up a couple in traffic that, again, give Edina a second chance opportunity. They probably score. Different game. So shout out to him. And then number 21 on Edina, I don't know his
Luke
name.
Seaman.
Yeah. I think he's only a sophomore and might even be a freshman. He's a fantastic lacrosse player. Great dodger, great shooter. Had a couple of nice little no look passes. He's going to be a really good. I think he's young, so I think he's going to be a guy to watch for the next couple of years.
Yeah, there's a few guys on Edina. And I know, right, like, I don't know if they haven't always gotten the bit or if they didn't like that maybe I doubted them and it's part of my bit. But, this is the first time that I think we probably played them last year, but this is the first time. I know we scrimmaged them, but this was a big game, with both of us. Like I got to, have a good competition with them. Like this is a huge tip of the cap. Like I know sometimes they get mad at me, whatever. And Cater brought it up at the beginning of the year. I'm trying to be nicer to Edina. So this is me trying to be nicer to Edina. Hell of a game by the Hornets, literally to the last whistle. A few players that we had, I'm more on the defensive side. But first, one of their defenders, who had a heck of a game, he had one of their goals late, number 8. This kid was a mutant. He was shutting guys down. He was on the faceoff wings. Then he'd be at close defense. Then he'd be running it down and getting a shot. I'm like, dude, you are everywhere. This Tyler Davis.
Yeah, I don't know how he didn't get tired.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, and another another tip of the. I'm glad you shouted him out. I forgot to mention him. There's very few defenders in the state of Minnesota that Ben Mickett can't just beat.
Yeah,
straight up, where he's I'm gonna get rid of it. I can't win. I didn't win this matchup, and he maybe got a couple against him, but overall, that guy matched feet with Mickett and played him pretty straight up. So yeah, shout out to him.
Yeah, so number 8, Tyler Davis. Again, Lax Hub isn't helping me. They don't have their grad years up, so I don't know what year he is, and all the awards haven't come out, but he's a guy who I would imagine is going to get some end of the year awards, and he earned it. This kid's an athlete. He's a gamer, and he's a difference maker on the field for sure. Number 3, who I believe is a younger player, Eli Bussey. He's an attackman. He's got some wiggles. He's got a nice shot, good vision. He's a feeder as well. He's a guy that, we kind of had starred on our scouting report, and, he played really well, caused some issues for us, defensively, and, kind of lived up to the hype, in terms of, the scouting report we put together. So, number 3, I believe he's on the younger side of things. He's going to be a guy for, the next, years to come. And he's going to be lighting the lamp quite a bit for the Hornets, moving forward.
I like that team a lot. Shout out Austin Dover, Jack Stanchfield, former teammates of mine at St. Thomas, now coaching at Edina. Who'd have thought the Tommies are coaching the Hornets? But no, they got a young team. It seems like that are fired up to keep Edina in the mix in Section 6. We'll see if they get back. I liked what I saw when I saw them play EP. Solid team, hell of a season. But yeah, shout out the Hornets, man.
One more player. Again, I could go up and down this roster, but another player who was a stud. Number 10, Cooper Anderson. This kid's a weapon. He has an absolute cannon. So just again, I could keep shouting guys out and going up and down the roster, but Yeah, Cooper Anderson's another one. You stole one of mine, 21. 10. Oh, and then there's another midi. Was it 29? I think 29 and 10 and 21. Those three middies. Yeah, they're causing issues, and so shout out to the Hornets. You gave us, everything we could handle. And it was one for the books. So, hell of a season by the Hornets. We'll keep her moving. Section 8. Section 8. Just they keep they I feel like they kicked this podcast off. They helped us get on the map, and then they just continue to pay dividends for us. The Spuds, Moorhead, in a overtime game, and I don't want to kick them while they're down, but STMA, the team that in this section who just can't get over the hump. When you finally think they get the momentum and they're ready to go, Spud Wagon just spoils it for them. The Spuds back in the state tournament.
So first, want to shout out STMA. A couple things. They played great lacrosse the last couple weeks. Had some big wins. I thought this game was going to be a lot more one-sided, and STMA made sure that did not happen. So a great battle. They have a couple guys on their team that can shoot the lights out, and they really rely on them, and they delivered tonight. It was kind of just a weird, just grinder game, like a lot of turnovers, but not necessarily just bad turnovers, just aggressive plays, kind of back and forth. The Spuds went up by 2 or 3, and STMA was able to just get stops on defense and claw their way back in. They took advantage of some man ups. And unfortunately fell, for the Knights, they fell a little bit short. Moorhead gets their 3rd section title and will head back to the state tournament. It's always fun to have them there. They bring the whole crew, and it's good to have some representation, outside the metro at the state tournament. So congrats to them. I think if you ask them, there's a couple of plays they wish they would have had back, but they were able to find a way to win, just like Shakopee. They don't ask you how, they ask you how many, and they scored more than the other team. So I think they'll be ready come next week, and be interesting to see where they fall in the bracket.
I'm gonna go ahead.
Just real quick, I don't know STMA players a whole lot. I got to see them play Buffalo last year. Remy Lobitz, though, he's an attackman / midi for STMA all over the field. The guy's scoring goals left and right. He's got a couple highlights of him last year. Hell of a player. STMA's they're going to be in the mix. I know I've said that over and over again about some of these teams that are runners up this year, but you don't get to a section final without being a good team. You don't get there without having a good young roster that's going to keep producing. So STMA is going to be a solid team. Moorhead, finished the season, or not finished the season. They're 15-1 right now. Their only loss was to Benilde. Kind of a tough loss. Lost 16-1 at Benilde. Long drive down. They'll have a little bit more time getting into things going into state. But Moorhead has some solid players up and down the field. Their goalie is phenomenal. They've got a D midi on the team. I'm trying to find his name right now as I speak and delay right now. Oliver Judd. I got a highlight of him laying a kid out in the Benilde game. He's locked down on the D midi side. We talked about it earlier, or maybe we were texting about it.
He's kind of a do it all for them. I think he faces for them.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
And I don't know if he plays settled offense, but he definitely plays offense, early kind of express offense for them. So
yeah. Senior this year, definitely going to be looking to leave it all on the field. We'll get in. I keep teasing it a little bit, but I'm excited to get there. The state seedings, but I think Moorhead might surprise people this year. But we'll talk about that.
You keep teasing this conversation. Just let it come, JP.
I'm excited.
We're not there
I'm
yet.
coming off of. We'll get to my game that I was just at, but there's a reason I'm fired up today. I'm fired up.
We're gonna skip your game because we're gonna end with that one. We're gonna go down to section 7, Chisago Lakes over Centennial. In section 7, is that an upset?
No,
it's not. Sorry.
I did write about this game, kind of saying that it was going to be close. It was kind of classic Chisago had dominant weak schedule. So like they dominated a weak schedule. Obviously a good team when you're winning 20-0, but maybe didn't have as many challenges in the season. Dropped that game to STMA late in the year. So was interested to see kind of how they handled maybe a team that's a little better caliber. Centennial has just been kind of up and down all year. It sounds like this game was physical. Centennial took a lot of penalties. I wrote on the blog a couple days ago. I felt like that was going to be a key for this game. Was Centennial had to be disciplined. He couldn't give Chisago Lakes a bunch of man up opportunities and allow them to be comfortable and have the extra guy, right, and get free step down shots and easy shots. It sounds like they did play a lot of man up, and the Chisago Lakes face-off guy is a really good one. Mason is his name. I can't pronounce his last name. I'll butcher it, but he's one of the better guys in the state. And I think Centennial struggled this year on face-off. So my assumption, I didn't see the game, but my assumption was face-offs and power plays or penalty kills, however you want to look at it, were the difference in this game.
All right, JP, we'll tee you up for the game. You were at section 3. Again, just like the girls, this section has been teed up for the fans who love upsets, who love underdogs, who love Cinderella stories. Another South Suburban opportunity if you're if you have South Suburban bias, just taking over the state tournament. However, that doesn't happen. JP, give us the behind the scenes. What happened here?
And you have to say a lot of nice things about the Cretan Durham Hall Raiders now.
I know I do. And they honestly, shout out Charlie Altier, former player of mine on Team 36, now coach at CDH.
Is he?
I got to be honest.
Wow.
Because he's a coach, I'm happy to do it. But I'm going to start with this. And I'm going to say this with love, because the Egan Instagram put a hashtag out the other day after they beat STA, hashtag not cardiac cats. That nickname, I came up with it. I don't think they necessarily loved it. I meant it with love because they're breaking hearts at the end of games, winning games at the absolute last second. I don't love Syracuse as much as Ted may love Syracuse, but Syracuse is a classic college lacrosse team, Cardiac Cuse. It's just a classic nickname. The Egan Wildcats were bringing every game to the very last second, breaking hearts as best as they could. But my God, was this easily, I'm glad this was the last, we'll call it regular season, quote unquote, game of the year before state that I saw, because this was easily my game of the year. This game was back and forth all game long. I said it earlier, I kind of teased it. It was at Egan, but it felt like a neutral site. Both student sections were going nuts. They basically had the stands split 50-50. If one was going, let's go Egan, someone else was getting louder with let's go CDH or whatever. They were competing all night long. It was 2 goals for CDH, 2 for Egan, back and forth. And I mean, one of the wildest endings I have ever seen. This was the epitome, again, I say with love, but the epitome of the Cardiac Cats. Down 8-7. It's about 45 seconds left. They have the ball on their end. They're trying to get a shot off. They can't do it. They turn the ball over. CDH is trying to clear it. The Egan ride comes up phenomenally, forces a ground ball at the midfield. Sam Simon picks up the ground ball. One of the best midfielders in the state right now, by the way, Sam Simon, picks up the ball at the 50-yard line. This kid in his 6'4" frame chucks the ball at the net from the 50-yard line, hits the goalie right in the chest. CDH goalie does the best that he can to try and save this ball. Ball pops up out of his stick or off his chest. I don't know what it was. And just right there, Egan attackman picks the ball right up out of the air, falling behind the goal line, tucks it into the back of the net. 2 seconds left on the clock. The crowd is going nuts. We're going to overtime. It was an absolute madhouse. It was one of the most fun games I've been at. And the crazy thing about it is the fastest game I've been to. There's barely any penalties, not really that much timeout, no stoppages really. We were maybe an hour and 20 some odd minutes in to the end of the fourth quarter. And I was like, oh, great. I'm going to get home early. Going to get to hang out with my fiance a little bit before we go to the podcast. And then overtime comes. and then the second overtime comes, and then third overtime comes, and then by God, fourth overtime comes. It was an absolute insane game. Both teams had, I mean, each team had a solid possession every overtime. Goalies were playing out of their minds. I mean, they were doing everything they could to keep their team on the field. Finally, CDH wins the opening draw in the fourth overtime on a faceoff violation. It was a clean call. I'll say that now. They did a good job of methodically getting into their set, and then they did just a nice simple sweep dodge from the top right over to the left side alley, hit the inside man, scores low to high, game over. CDH is going to state. Fans rushed the field. It was, I mean, it was the best game I've been to so far in my 2 years of doing content for games. And also, I will say this: it seems like every time I go to a CDH game, I get a sweet CDH behind the back goal, just middle of the game, and I also get a CDH overtime thriller game winner. So shout out CDH for giving me great content. Absolutely love it. I'm gonna say it. I love to see CDH going to the state tournament and winning Section 3. I can't believe I'm saying it, but I absolutely love to see it. This team has grinded their way through the playoffs. They beat Woodbury. They were up, I think, 8-3 going into the fourth quarter. Woodbury was trying to come back, do everything they could to make the comeback happen. They held strong. Egan game was an absolute barn burner, like I just said, and they held strong again. And now they're going to state because they worked their butts off for it. And hats off to CDH, man. I mean, it was a phenomenal game.
Yeah, no, tip of the cap to them. I am happy for them. Their coach Matt Horrigan has done a great job building that program up. He's a great guy, a friend of mine, and really supports Team 36, and we chat a lot during the season. So happy for him. On the Egan side, obviously South Suburban, we obviously support each other, going to, if they're not playing us in our own section, we cheer for the South Suburban teams. I have a lot of respect for Coach Matea. I think he has done a masterful job with Egan this year. They kind of started slow, but he kept them motivated. They've had some huge wins this year. Obviously, a couple kids that play for Egan that have been Team 36 guys. So that one is a tough one for me because I kind of wanted both teams to go because we have 36 guys on both teams. But and maybe that's the way the universe kind of set itself up for a four overtime game. But again, upset. You're the upset and Cinderella story. I do have a story, a quick one. Katie on her Section 3 picks put CDH at 1. And a couple of the guys that were like, Katie knows, and there's a player on Cretan. I'll shout him out, Beck Lewis. He used to play Team 36. He's and he texted me after, and he was like, hey, like, thanks for the shout out on your section match, like section preview of like being one of the better, like, or one of the players to watch. And he's like, I think a lot of people are sleeping on Cretan this year. Like, we're going to make a run and we're going to, surprise some people. That's what he texted me. This was back in like March. So Beck, congratulations. You again, prove us wrong, prove us right, however you want to look at it. So nicely done by the Raiders.
There was also a tweet I recently retweeted. The Nook, the CDH parents want to take Katie out to the Nook. The Nook is on CDH parents apparently for Katie. I don't think any of the rest of us got invited, but so hopefully that'll cheer Katie up.
Yeah.
Just quick note too, I got the game winner. It's on our Instagram. Go watch it. We'll have a full write-up, a couple highlights here and there tomorrow. But I mean, absolutely amazing game. Egan, I mean, they've got players up and down the field. Tyler Husby was throwing, I mean, great assists all night long. Sam Simon, we already shouted him out. I mean that team is pretty stacked. They had a kind of a rough start. Shout out to them for finishing the season strong. I mean, obviously, again, this is not how you want to end your season, but hold your heads high. It's a hell of a game. Someone had to win it at some point, and just how the game goes sometimes.
One for the Bucks, JP. A conversation that you were itching at all podcasts long, and I told you we'd get there, but you just couldn't let it happen. But now we're here. I think and Katie would probably know about the girls' side a little bit more, in terms of seeding. And there's been a lot of conversation, I think, on Twitter, definitely our Discord. It's all over our Discord, especially right now. Our Discord's going absolutely bananas with the upsets, with teams, with who's going to get ranked where at state. I think this is the conversation of the night of tomorrow. I believe the coaches. I'm not actually 100%. I think it's like a coach's call. I'm not 100% sure on that process. If I'm being completely honest with you, but I'm hearing the coach's call. The DTA Nation thinks that it's going to be a very interesting coach's call. They could probably sell tickets and make enough money to rent out US Bank Stadium for the state tournament, but that they probably won't do that. So, with the teams, some new faces, with some weird scores and people beating each other all over the place. I think I would agree with DTA Nation. It's going to be an interesting slate and where pieces fall. I'll make one comment and I'll let you two chat about it more, since I'm in it, so I'm not gonna comment too much, but I'm going to predict that something's gonna be weird. Somewhere, someone is gonna land in a weird spot. I'm gonna kind of leave it at that. I think when it comes out, there's gonna be some head scratching. I think there's gonna be some surprises, and I don't know what. I'm gonna let you guys kind of discuss and rant about it, but I could see this one. I feel like in past years it's been pretty predictable. I think this one is unpredictable, and it could get a little weird.
I think we got to get the obvious ones out of the way first, right? BSM clear one, right? Undefeated. They're the defending champions. They've earned it. They deserve it. Number 1 seed. Lakeville North, I think, has to go at the 2 seed. That seems clear to me. Ted, PMAC.
I don't think that's as clear as DTA Nation. Again, I'm just gonna go off of DTA Nation, what DTA Nation's saying, and Ted, you can have your own opinions as well. I don't think DTA Nation thinks it's a clear cut 2. I think after 1, I think DTA Nation thinks it's a free for all.
I could see that. I could totally see that. I mean, like Lakeville North just seems like, if you break it down, to me, they were the Electric Factory starters. They turned the lights on of the Electric Factory. I think and I don't mean to say they kind of fell into it, but with other teams falling off, they kind of fall into the number 2 seed as a default. But I don't know. I don't know. It starts to get real mucky at the 3 seed down, because I honestly, you could put any team, not necessarily in any spot, but Ted, you got thoughts? Because I'm just going to ramble if you don't.
Yeah, I mean, they are 14-2. They've lost to Egan, but they also lost to Shakopee, who's now also in the state tournament. So you have a head-to-head there. So you'd be like, oh, well, then Shakopee's the 2. But wait a minute. Shakopee lost to Matamidi, who's also in the state tournament, and they lost to Moorhead, who's in the state tournament. So then do you throw Moorhead and Matamidi up higher than Shakopee? Not as tough of a schedule. Moorhead's taking care of business on all their games this year, except for Benilde. Do you throw Moorhead at 2? Do they have enough top 10, top 5 wins?
Moorhead is 15-1.
So they're not the 8, I can tell you that. And they beat Shakopee, and they didn't play anybody else. And they lost to Benilde, and they didn't play anybody else in this in this tournament.
They beat Tonka. They beat Tonka. They beat Shakopee.
Yeah, they beat Hill Murray, who beat Matamidi. So in the season, so if you want to start going down that road, Chisago Lakes, unfortunately, I think they're going to get the 8 just because of strength of schedule, and they don't have any like top 10 wins. And that's not saying they're not a good team, but it is random draw. I don't know how random it is, but I could see them probably being the 8.
But they're also 15-1.
They're also 15-1. CDH has a worse record, played a tougher schedule, but also now has the Egan win and the Woodbury win in playoffs. So I would say 7-8 is probably CDH and Chisago. You can kind of toss that up and see where they land. Prior Lake, played some really tough teams early. If they play those games now, or if they played those games in late May, would they have lost those first 4 that they lost? Maybe they won't go 2-2 in those games instead of 0-4. Valley and Shakopee, and Benilde and who else was it? Lakeville North or whatever. So, I think who you play matters, but when you play them is a situation and factor as well. And then who else am I missing here?
Do we hit on Matamidi?
Matamidi, they have the Shakopee win, the Stillwater win now. I would say they're probably, despite the Shakopee win, they're probably the 6, but could be the 5, and maybe PL is the 6. Shakopee, Lakeville North, that's probably a toss up because Shakopee beat North. So
Are the Spuds the 2?
for purposes of just throwing a wrench in the coach's call and making it another hour more than it needs to be tomorrow for those guys, I think I put Moorhead as the 2. They've done everything. They've done everything that they're supposed to do. That it hasn't been pretty at times, but like they get the job done. I think they're the second best team in the state tournament? No, I don't. But I think they objectively earned the 2 seed.
I do think Prior Lake is going to get the 2, and I think
Really?
As a
would
Prior
be-
Lake person, I do not think we'll
Okay,
get that.
no,
I'll
not
take
as
the
a-
under. I will
you're-
take the under.
And you can't even say you're an unbiased Prior Lake person. You want them to be
I didn't say
as
unbiased.
low you want them to be as low
I didn't say.
ranked as
I
you
said
want them to,
as
they
a.
could be.
I didn't say biased or unbiased. I said as a Prior Lake person, I do not think we'll be the 2.
You would love Prior Lake to be the 8.
I wouldn't. I don't want to be the 8. But I don't think we'll be the 2. And I want to put a loud and clear disclaimer, because sometimes when we talk about things, people take it as gospel. Okay. Down the Alley has, myself included, has absolutely zero to do with the rankings. This is pure speculation.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is pure entertainment. Like the financial disclaimers, put all that in right now. Okay. What we are saying and talking about is not gospel. It's speculation. It's opinions. It's opinions. We're ranting right now. So,
and that's where my opinion comes in is Prior Lake is the entertainment factor for the state tournament to be the 2 seed. If they can earn it, if they are on the hot streak that they're on right now, I think the people would not be upset about a Prior Lake BSM rematch again. And I think the MSHSL knows that.
I don't think you can put PL at 2 because they lost to Lakeville North, and then they beat Edina, but so did North at the end of the season. So I think head to head, if I had to guess, I would. Moorhead's the 2.
I hope so. That would be awesome.
Build Moorhead, Shakopee, Lakeville North, Prior Lake, Matamidi.
didn't Matamidi beat somebody?
They beat Shakopee. So
and Prior Lake lost to Shakopee. So is PL the 6?
I think PL's the 6. I honestly said that earlier today to somebody or in the Discord or something. I think PL. I wouldn't be surprised if PL is a 6 and plays the 3. Again, do I think they're the 6th best team out of the 8? No, I don't. I think they're better than that. But when you have to just look at information and make it objective based on wins and losses, I wouldn't be surprised if they fall down, to that spot.
So this is exactly, and we've talked about it before, but this is exactly why I don't like the random draw for the 5 or 6 through 8 seed. because then it's not necessarily objective at that point. It's trying to make I don't even know what the point of it is, to make a fair draw for the lower seeded teams, or not
Yeah.
to put them at an 8 seed when they really probably are an 8 seed. So like just call a spade and put them at the 8 seed and make it an objective decision, whether it was in reality or not. And then no one can dispute you because you're saying by the numbers, you are the 6, 7, and 8 seed.
Prior Lake won't get the 8 because if that happened, random draw, and Benil drew Prior Lake in the first round, they would boycott the state tournament.
God, that would be an electric first round game though. Oh my God.
Moorhead is the 2, Prior Lake's the 8, Benil's the 1.
Yeah, I mean,
We're
if-
working our way to a Moorhead Prior Lake state final.
God, that PMAC, what would you do if that happened? I don't even know if you could coach.
Yeah, no, but yeah, this section seat or this state seating meeting is going to be tough. I think everybody's got a piece of the action here. It's not as clear as, like PMAC said, not as clear cut as years past. A lot of, well, we beat you, so why are you higher situations. I personally think it should come down to, you get the more top 10 wins you have, the more value you can get for yourself. Even if you lost one head-to-head game to somebody, but you got 4 other top 10 wins, you can put yourself in a better spot. Somebody in the Discord, I think it was Coach Clem, said it should be coach's bar trivia for seating. So each staff, you get your head coach and you get your 2 staff members that will be on the sideline, and that's your bar trivia team. I feel like that's a great way to settle it. It could be a poker game, could be rock, paper, scissors. Again, like you said, sell tickets, build the fund up to move the state tournament to a more exciting venue.
That might be one of my better ideas coming from this podcast, is sell tickets to however they come up with, like this discussion. But that's not going to happen either. But
do a follow-up podcast when the seedings come out, or some sort of post, or some sort of again, like you said, it's pure speculation at this point. Luckily, I don't have to be in that room and have to make those decisions. We just get to speculate and then comment on it after it happens.
So, yeah, I'm going to say it again. Full disclaimer, what we just talked about is not gospel. So don't take this somewhere. And if it doesn't happen, if one of our opinions, JP, Ted, or I, aligned closely with what, or you always like what JP says, so now that's what you're going to think. Don't take this to if you're going to take it to an MSHSL official and be like, why didn't it go the way JP and I think? You gotta bring this part of the clip with and say, this was just our opinion. We're not gospel. I don't want to be a part of that. All right. I don't want to be a part of that. So, thanks for listening to our opinions, I guess. And thanks for getting fired up, because next week's going to be really fun, no matter where teams get seated in which order.
Good luck to all the teams, boys, girls, everybody, and we will catch you on the flip side.